In this video, we're going to discuss the site information area of ATS. We get here by visiting admin and then site info. And we do have to be an administrator to make changes to this area. When we first arrive here, we're going to be under the primary tab, and we see some sub-tabs under here. We're going to start out with main. Under the main area, we enter the organizational address and name. We also choose a time zone. We're going to see a key here that allows us to enter the correct number for our time zone. We also can add a contact us area for the athlete portal. We also have the ability to change our report logo or our wallpaper. This is the wallpaper area, which you're seeing in the background here. And we also have the ability to enter a logo link, a maximum of 300 characters. Next, we're going to visit the HIPAA statement sub-tab. This is where we're going to enter our HIPAA statement, and as the help area shows us, this is going to appear at the footer of reports and emails. Next, we're going to visit two tabs that pertain to claims, the claim header tab and the claim footer tab. The claim header tab, as you can see here by the help area, this appears at the top of the general injury claim reports and forms, and the claim footer, which of course appears at the bottom. Next, we're going to visit the electronic signature legal tab. This enables you to put a statement that's going to appear at the bottom of your electronic forms. We're going to visit the athlete portal tab. A number of settings in here for those of you that do use the athlete portal. First of all, initially show completed forms in the athlete forms area. This enables the athletes to potentially review them, make changes to them. Enable athlete form edit in the portal if you do allow athletes to go back and make changes. Show the athlete picture, definitely a useful identification tool. Show no primary insurance, which enables the athlete to choose that they do not have insurance. A lot of people like to have this turned off if they do not allow athletes to participate without insurance. Show race and ethnicity fields in the main tab. Some of you choose not to do this because of the rules of your institution or state. Show the medical history tab for athlete information and also have the ability to change that label. You can turn that off or again rename it. Many of you do turn this off or rename it because you cover it in your athlete forms. Allow athletes to add new insurance companies. Many of you have a preset number of insurance companies and you do not allow athletes to change that. You are able to turn that off if you wish. Show the athlete paperwork grid. Many of you do not show this. You feel it confuses athletes. You are welcome to have that turned on if you wish. Show athlete physical entries. Some of you do like the athletes to be able to see those. Enable the verify button for athlete forms. Very important. Some of you who have longer forms like to give athletes the ability to simply review them a following year or a future date without refilling out the forms. This gives the ability for the athlete and or parents to just sign the form without changing anything on the form. Require a file type for e-files uploaded by the athlete. Also a very important choice. This helps you to sort your e-files on the way in. So when printing reports with uploaded e-files, you can pick a group, for example, physical signed, and be able to print those out all at once rather than having numerous e-files, perhaps doctor's notes and things like that mixed in with physicals, for example. Require athlete emergency contact password change. You can put in a date which is going to force people to change that password. Send athlete a confirmation after successful registration. This simply emails out the athlete, lets them know that they did successfully register. Add a copy of saved athlete forms to the e-files area in PDF format. Another very important one. Every time an athlete fills out a form, this makes a redundant snapshot of that form so that it's saved in an uneditable fashion in case you have some question about that form in the future. Initially show available e-files during the new process. Some of you want your college, school, or organization forms to show even if the person hasn't added themselves. Others want to hold those back and force the athlete to have added themselves before they see those. Allow printing of blank forms. Some of you want the athletes to have the ability to print these out if they can't finish them electronically. Email confirmation of athlete form completed. Some of you wish to not have these emails going out. You feel that it's too much. Others do like to see them. We also have the ability here under custom team choices to change the names that we see on the athlete portal. We also have the ability to require entire sections. For example, on the initial ad, perhaps you want immunizations, emergency contacts, and insurance. Some of you want to be minimalist at the ad and want the athletes to only add themselves, but then add insurance at a later date. If you check these off, these tabs are going to appear and therefore be mandatory on the initial ad. Athlete appointments, you have some choices here. You have the ability to black out a time frame before the appointment if you don't want athletes making a decision to pick an appointment an hour before the scheduled appointment. You can put a time in there. Also, you can block out times. Perhaps you don't want appointment choices coming through in the middle of the night, for example. You also have the ability to add athlete form instructions in this area. Finally, allow athlete forms via the athlete phone. Many athletes do fill out their forms using the full website on their phone anyway. This just allows the forms to be present on the athlete phone module as well as the athlete portal. Finally, we have the emergency protocol area. This is simply an area to enter in a protocol that you have for emergencies. On the Modules tab, we have the ability to turn on or off the various functions within ATS. That's done in this left area here. For ease of viewing, you may choose to collapse this area or perhaps expand the various sub areas. Also keep in mind that you may have to turn on these functions for each user as well. And once you do, that user, including yourself, will have to log out and log back in before the changes take effect. We can also apply all settings or uncheck all settings. We also have the ability to apply unchecked modules. If we choose to turn something off, we can select this button here, and this will uncheck it for all the users within our organization. A little bit lower here in blue, we have the ability to show or not show the staff contact icon on the ATS smartphone. On this tab is also the area where we do the configuration for the two parts of the concussion evaluation, either full or quick. We can pick various functions within that concussion evaluation, and this does replicate across all modules of ATS. Visiting the Security tab with a number of choices in here. We can force a password change within a given number of days. We have the ability to control the forgot password tokens time in minutes. We can turn on or off the ability to use a strong password for all of our users. We can set the amount of time that the kiosk logs itself out in. We can choose the minimum length of password. We can choose to lock out a user after a number of times tried. We can force a logout after a certain time or a certain number of minutes. We can disable the view password capabilities for all users if we wish. We also have the ability to enable the ATS web portal cookie policy. We have the ability to turn on or off two-factor authentication for all users and add a delay and control that delay for the two-factor authentication. We also can use Duo for security, have the ability to put in our host settings, integration key, and secret key there as well. Or if we wish, we can use LDAP settings and information. You see the host information that you can populate there. Visiting the Tab Order tab here, we have the ability to change the priority structure of our tabs. This is used on the athlete and injury forms. We also have the ability to set the criteria by which duplicate athletes are found. We also have the ability to set up our smartphone icons. Now, this does not turn on or off the functionality. It just chooses the quick icons on the smartphone for our users. On optional tab 1, we can change the description of the primary user in ATS. We can change the athletic ID identifier. Most common that is on the athlete portal. Change what the athletes see there. We can also change the address names for both the primary and the second address. We can force each user to see an injury screen when they log in, see the hurt athletes. We can enable or disable batch reporting if you want to use that feature. Smartphone search by team. This affects the way that users are able to look up athletes when using the smartphone. Weight deficit percentages is if you're using our hydration module. This sets the thresholds for level 1 and level 2. Information privacy settings. Allow the privacy settings. You can either turn that on or off, or allow secure messaging if you choose to use that feature between you and the athletes or you and other users. Email options. This turns on the auto emails. That happens for injuries, limitations, and notes. You can choose what email address those come from, and you can also put in a preface. For example, some encryption systems have a keyword that trigger an automatic encryption. You can choose to send emails for athlete portal changes or send emails for kiosk changes. Optional tab 2, we have the ability to turn on or off the display of social security numbers everywhere in ATS with this choice here. We can choose to show minor flags on the athlete screen if we wish to draw attention to that. We have the ability to show or not show athlete pictures in the ATS core program. Regional functionality settings. Use regional filter for searches. We have the ability to turn that on if you do have regions defined in your organization. Enable body part search. You have the ability to build associations between illness types and body parts in ATS. If you turn this feature off, those associations are shut down and all of the illness types will show for each body part. Show Add Myself in the ATS kiosk web if you want to allow athletes to have the ability to add themselves through the kiosk. User key master phrase. As you see here, this icon displays the list of key phrases. Initially show resolved injuries on the athlete screen. Some of you like to see the previous injuries that an athlete has had, even if they are resolved. Clear the working directory when a user logs out. We recommend that you do keep this checked. It's the default setting for this. This keeps from having information stored locally on your machine. You can select and unselect performed by list from provider on med service entry, which would keep track of the providers that are doing the given services. Show data indicator on the athlete injury screens. This simply puts an asterisk on the tab next to the name of the tab if there's any data entered in the tab, so that you don't have to look through empty tabs to find out there's no data there. Enable BMI calculation. This does an automatic calculation for the BMI based on the physical information if this is selected. Lock notes after initial entry. Some states, for example, New Jersey, want notes to be locked and uneditable once they are entered. So you can choose that if you wish. Some choices for appointments. You can set the default minimum appointment time. Also, you can choose a name for the open appointment purpose. Also, allow multiple athletes or multiple people per appointment. Filter limit the appointment shown on the appointment detail screen to only show the active user. If you select this, you'll only be able to see your own appointments and not the appointments of others. On the appointment detail screen, the number of days to show before today. You can select a number there, or the number of days to show into the future. Also in the appointment area, we have the ability to configure some colors for different parts of the appointment selection. You can see the different choices here. Tab 3, we have the ability to configure some of our auto emails in ATS. On our first tab, we have the ability to configure the information we receive via email when someone adds themselves on the web portal. On the next tab, we have the ability to configure our auto email when someone adds an injury. Next tab is when someone adds a limitation, and the next tab is when someone adds a note. And this is done via the note tag process. We also have a video and instructions on that. Below this, we have the ability to enter our NCAA or high school information that is received by data list. Next, we have the ability to add a default injury for concussions. We also have the ability to enter a default injury. This can be added for all or by team in this area. On the swipe card tab, we have the ability to configure ATS to receive swipe card information for use with the ATS kiosk. The first thing we do is scan a card, see what information we receive. Then we have several choices that are going to configure that information. And then we have a test process by which we see the finished product. And you simply make sure that this matches your intended athlete ID. On the billing tab, we have the ability to configure some information if we are going to do direct billing through ATS. We have the ability to configure the billing provider and the default service facility. If you need more help for this area, we do have instructions on this process. On the Claims/EDI tab, this is where we configure our insurance information if we are submitting claims. On these two tabs, you see all of our insurance partners. On the third tab, you see Other EDI. We do have separate directions for each one of these configurations. On the pre-login tab, we have the ability to enter messages either for athlete logins or for user logins. On the kiosk tab, you have several choices to set up your kiosk for athlete use. Few choices across the top here. The athletes can choose a team if they're on multiple teams. The kiosk can be maximized for an expanded size. We can allow athletes to do forms via the kiosk as opposed to just the athlete portal, or we can hide the body part save button if we wish to make it easier for our athletes. This is also where you configure the strength and conditioning exercises, the rehabs, and the modalities for your quick buttons within ATS for use in the kiosk. The Custom tab gives us the ability to enter up to 10 custom fields. These are viewed both within the user end of ATS and on the athlete portal for athlete entry. These can be anything you wish. The Inventory tab allows us to do some kiosk-like setup for the inventory area for quick transactions. We pick what item we want to work with, and we pick a name for that button under the quick transactions. If you have any questions about this video or anything with ATS, please give us a call anytime at 888-328-2577. Thank you.